This is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNN.Live. We're at the Planet MicroCap Showcase 2019 in Las Vegas. With me is Dr. Herman Weiss from Todos Medical. It's a publicly traded company, and the symbol is TOMDF. Welcome back to SNN.Live.
Thanks, Shelley. It's a pleasure to be back here. We last spoke a few years ago, and happy to see we made a lot of progress in the last 2 years, and it's good to be back.
Well, it's good to have you. So let's get started and give our audience an overview of the company first, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, we're based out of Israel. We're an immune diagnostic company. We have developed immune biomarkers for cancer, and we are commercializing our breast cancer tests in Europe and in Israel. And we recently acquired an immune diagnostic test for Alzheimer's disease as well. So a lot of exciting things happening.
So let's go back a little bit. Give us some history of the company.
So we're the cancer diagnostics were based out of Ben Gurion University in the Negev. Dr. Udi Zelg was developing, studying for his PhD and working on immune spectroscopy, and saw that the immune system interacts with every cancer differently. As you're aware of immuno-oncology, every immuno-oncology medication that's approved doesn't work for every cancer because every cancer reacts differently within the immune system. And he was able to identify the unique fingerprint of each cancer. And in fact, just yesterday we were approved, the U.S. Patent Office approved a patent for our lung cancer detection test. So we have it approved for colon, breast, and now lung cancer. And it's, it's a wonderful tool because it's able to detect the cancers very early. Just one more statement on that. Sure. There's a lot of competition with the liquid biopsies you may have heard about. Most of the liquid biopsy companies are looking at DNA that's circulating in the patient's peripheral circulation. Unfortunately, those cancers are those tests are very good at detecting cancers that are more advanced, whereas our test is not looking for DNA, it's looking for the patient's immune system reaction to the actual cancer, which happens very early.
What would you say is unique about Todos?
Well, unique and differentiated, our ability to detect cancers early, our high sensitivity and specificity, much higher than mammograms, and even higher than colonoscopies in some aspects. Our ability to detect different types of cancers, and now with our Alzheimer's disease test, to detect Alzheimer's disease early, tremendous unmet need there. Pharmaceutical companies pay $150,000 for every patient that gets enrolled into a drug trial, and not one drug trial has successfully been completed, and not one drug is approved for Alzheimer's disease, because they start the clinical trials too late, already when the patient is diagnosed and more advanced in their disease progression. Our test, LimPro, will be able to, it's called LimPro, will be able to detect Alzheimer's disease far in advance of when the severe symptoms happen, and then we can get those patients into the clinical trials earlier when the drugs can actually have a clinical effect and be approved.
So you're kind of, my next question is about your competitive advantage. So you're kind of touching on some of that, but I may want you to alliterate it a little more.
So there's no blood test for Alzheimer's until ours. There's no blood test that will able to detect Alzheimer's at such an early. Right now, the gold standard is lumbar punctures and PET scans, which unfortunately find the disease at a much advanced state, when unfortunately the patient's already eliciting some of those symptoms of the disease. So it's far differentiated from what's available, and in our cancer detection unit, we are able to detect cancers at a much earlier stage as well.
So this is a self-fulfilling question, but who are your target markets?
So for our cancer detection unit, it's everybody, okay? I'm a physician, and I want to talk to a physician and say, I'm giving you a tool to treat your patients better, to give them, to detect their cancers earlier, when they're more treatable and their survival will be improved. I want to approach the patients, and the patients will come to the physician and say, I want that test. And obviously, you know, the insurers will pay for it. So we're at that center where everything is going to be wrapped up. And then for the Alzheimer's disease, our initial pathway to commercialization is via IUO, which is investigational use only, via the pharmaceutical route. They want our test because they can get the patients into the clinical trials earlier and more abundantly, and conduct more trials. Once we get through those clinical trials, we'll get approval for what we call companion diagnostic, and then eventual FDA approval for screening.
What's your background?
So I went to Ohio State Medical School, went to Einstein residency, practiced medicine in Long Island for 10 years, and got an MBA from George Washington University, expanding my entrepreneurial side. Moved to Israel in 2008, co-founded my own company in a medical device and women's health, which is really incredible. Starting from zero to building out all the regulatory and compliance and clinical development. It was tremendously exciting. Was recruited to be the global medical director for women's health at Teva pharmaceutical company, a small company out of Israel. You may have heard of them.
Company.
Yeah, non-microcap, a little bit more. And did that for 5 years. Unbelievable to go from a startup, from zero to multi-billion-dollar company is incredible. Learned everything under the sun there. Then was recruited to a job as VP of Clinical Development and Medical Affairs at Juniper Pharmaceuticals in Boston. Did that for 2 years. Brought that company to a successful sale. That was this past summer, and I took over as the CEO of Todos. They had brought me in the year before as the chairman of the board. Was helping mature the company. That's actually when we met. I was the chairman of the board when we met the first time. And then since then, we're commercializing our assets in Europe. Since I've started coming into, became the CEO in August of last year, 2018. Commercializing our assets in Europe and in Israel, in-licensed this new Alzheimer's disease asset, and the sky's the limit. We filed our 20F in March. We filed an F1 in April.
Let's get your website out for more information for our investor audience, if you would.
Okay, all our filing, all our SEC interactions could be found at todosmedical.com. It gives you a good overview of our cancer detection. We just released our approval of the acquisition, so you can find that on the website as well. We're getting some more information about the Alzheimer's disease asset up there. It's not up to date yet because it's real time. You're hearing the news right here. So,
Dr. Herman Weiss, Todos Medical, a publicly traded company, and the symbol is TOMDF. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive, coming to you live from the Planet MicroCap Showcase 2019 in Las Vegas. Doc, welcome, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, Elliot.